This is the Pre-Launch Profit Podcast, session number 5.
To where I am now, which is I've got a couple of products and a couple of services, and I am about $3,000 away from replacing my Disney income.
Are you finally ready to launch your lifestyle and get your business into gear? This is the Pre-Launch Profit Podcast, where we interview inspiring entrepreneurs who have created the freedom in their life with informational products. Let's go. Launching digital products is simple. Whether it's an ebook or an online course, I have observed how all the top earners launch their 6- and 7-figure businesses, and I finally cracked the code. Go to www.prelaunchprofit.com/free to receive your free step-by-step checklist today. Hey there guys, Tucker here from the Pre-Launch Profit Podcast, and I wanted to thank you for joining me here today. I have an amazing guest today. Her name is Kristi Brown, and this episode is so good. It's so good because we actually get to hear how she was able to leave corporate, and I'm going to get to that here in a sec, but she was able to leave corporate and start working for herself, and she's actually almost past her income that she was earning with her previous job with what she's doing now. So talk about freedom. But anyway, today we're going to talk a little bit about how Kristi Brown was able to quit working for Disney. Guys, she quit working for Disney. Now, that might sound like a cool job, to work for, but we're actually going to learn how and why she just quit. She quit working for Disney to start her own thing. So we're going to learn how she did that. We're also going to learn how she replaced her Disney income, so the money that she was making by working for Disney, with her own income by creating online courses. We're also going to cover her view on team building and why it's so important to actually focus on your strengths and hire out your weaknesses. Another thing we're going to cover is what her schedule looks like and how she prioritizes her tasks throughout the week to make her so successful. We're also going to go over how big she is on systems and why they're so important. And finally, we're also going to hear her advice on how to start an online business, even as a beginner, from scratch. So guys, take notes, bring out that notebook or Evernote or whatever you guys use to use notes, and use this to your advantage to help you be successful. Here we go. All right, everybody, thank you for joining me today. Tucker here from Pre-Launch Profit. And again, thank you for joining us here on this podcast episode. And I have a wonderful guest, a wonderful, awesome, terrific lady, Kristi Brown. And we're just going to dig down and dive so deep into what she does so that you guys can also benefit from what she does, but so you can apply what she is doing. So Kristi, how's it going? Good. So Kristi, I was talking with Kristi the other day, and the cool thing about her is she actually left corporate. Not only did she leave corporate, she actually left Disney. She was actually doing that for quite a long time, and she decided to branch off. She was coaching people on the side, and we are going to find out what she did, what she was doing, and what she is doing right now. So, Kristi, just take this wonderful 5 minutes or so and just explain us tell us your background and what you do.
Sure. Well, like you mentioned, for the last 4 years, I was working at Disney. I was actually one of the marketing directors for them. I focused on digital marketing strategies for residents of Florida and California. So that included social media and email marketing, content marketing, media buys, so like Pandora and all that kind of fun stuff. Previous to that, I actually worked at Living Social, and I helped launch 67 cities with them, and I fell in love with the small businesses that I was working with and really had a passion to help them grow. So I, like you mentioned, had a couple clients on the side. So when I moved from Living Social to Disney, I continued to work for them. When I realized that Disney wasn't really the dream job that I really, really wanted it to be, I started trying to develop a plan. It was surprisingly, Disney is not as innovative with new ideas as what people think that they are.
Okay.
And they would fight me on almost every new idea that you can imagine. I started working with Disney when I was still at Living Social to develop their social media strategy. in 2007, Disney did not have any social media strategy. And so they just really didn't believe they needed to be online because they didn't have to be up to that point. And so up till last year, they continued to fight me. So I decided that small businesses and entrepreneurs really was where I needed to be, where my passion was. And so I actually started out by really kind of surveying the marketplace and figuring out what did I see people asking questions about constantly that I could help with. It started out by just kind of getting into some of the Facebook groups and even some Pinterest and Twitter and really kind of zeroing in on what the conversations were about. It's not exactly, I wouldn't say it wasn't like real strategic market research, but it was really like, let's figure out where people are stuck.
Okay.
And so I began kind of doing an outline for a couple of products that I felt like could answer the main questions that I was hearing. And it's still the same thing right now, which is Facebook ads. And I handled about a $2.5 million Facebook ad account for Disney a month. So I had a pretty good training from Facebook on how to do Facebook ads. So I began to kind of try to put that together in a way that would answer questions. And through that, was able to make some really great contacts that encouraged me to leave Disney without a safety net.
Okay.
Which I'm not completely sure I would recommend. It takes a very strong stomach to do that. But my contract was up for renewal on May 7th of 2015, and I walked into the boardroom and told them I was not re-signing, and I left. So that was kind of the catapult that I needed to kind of get my butt in gear and start making money at home without Disney behind me. So from there, I began really kind of putting together a product that I felt like was going to be really comprehensive. I bought a bunch of other people's courses because I wanted to see what pieces were missing. How were people buying courses on specifically Facebook ads and not still feeling like they still couldn't do it on their own. I felt like a lot of people were talking about wasting money, that they felt like the people that were teaching it assumed where they were. And so they continued to feel stuck. So I felt like that was really where I wanted to answer the questions, was starting at the beginner level. How can I fill this niche that is so needed, specifically in the online world where the entrepreneurs really want to do it themselves? They really understand it. Even if they hire somebody down the road, they really want to understand it themselves. So that's what I set out to do. It took me almost 48 hours to shoot a 4-hour course. We were able to get it edited, and I had built up an email list I had for a little while. But at the time of the launch, I was a little under 2,000 people on the email list.
Okay.
When we launched, I'll be honest, we didn't really have a launch strategy. Coming from a marketing background, that's kind of shameful, but when you're doing it for yourself, you forget the basics. And so I just started sending out emails, specifically asking questions, and asking people, what they were looking for from a product, and then building emails around the answers I was getting. So like my product answers, how do you find your target market, and how should you set up a campaign? These were the different things that I was being asked. And that kind of got the ball rolling to where I am now, which is I've got a couple of products and a couple of services, and I am about $3,000 away from replacing my Disney income less than a year later.
There you go. Good. Boy, gosh, value bomb galore, kaboom. Those were everywhere. So not only between, Kristi and I, but guys, like if you would just apply everything that she just said, like you will get somewhere. I don't care who you are, you will get to where you want to go. Kristi, I also, what does your typical work week look like as of now?
So right now I'm actually building a team. I have realized that there are things that I am really strong at and that other people can do better than I can on certain things. So But I'm really big on routine and systems because I am a creative at heart, and if I don't have routines, I tend to get lost. So
Gotcha.
I actually have it. I set up Mondays as days that I figure out what my strategy for visibility is going to look like. So whether that's being on interviews or being inside Facebook groups or posting on social media, I really kind of write that whole strategy out at the beginning of the week, and then I bring my team in on it on Tuesday morning, and they actually help execute some of that stuff.
Okay.
And I'm really focusing now on doing some of the advanced stuff with the courses that I've already created, the products that I already have out, to take them to the next level. So I started out very basic because that kind of seemed what the market needed. And so now I'm building on that. So I have to set aside blocks of time specifically to do videos, so it doesn't take me 47 hours to do it next time. And I'm one of those that I don't have to plan like what I'm going to say when I'm doing like a course or something like that. So I'm trying to take the time to actually outline and make sure all the questions are answered instead of going back and remembering that I forgot something after
Yeah.
it's done. So I tend to work in blocks of hours, and I do that for everything. So I actually set a timer when I decide I'm going to go onto Pinterest, which you can totally get lost on.
Yeah.
I actually set a timer and make sure that, Tuesdays and Thursdays when I'm doing that I'm not on there for long, usually 30 minutes at a time. And so I plan out my week on Monday and decide kind of what the most important things are and plan from there. But the most important thing right now is building those relationships and building those products. So that's where the majority of my week is focused on.
Okay. But obviously, I mean, first of all, again, congrats for, you're going to do it. You're going to pass your Disney, your Disney income. That is amazing. But not only that, like you are passing the income that you currently had. You now, from what I heard, I would love to be doing what you're doing. A lot of people might, consider that looking like a lot of work, but like no matter what, you're going to have to work like that. That's just it. But why not work something? Why not do something that you actually love to do? So again, congrats on you will beat your goal. That's a fact. And I loved how disciplined you are and how, you like that takes a lot. That takes a lot of guts, a lot of nerve, but also just a lot of self-control to be able to hit that timer when go and then hit that timer when stop to move on.
Yeah, it really does. It's really hard to remember what your priorities are. We ask my business partner and I and my team. That's what we're constantly asking each other is when it comes to marketing, especially when you're online. There's so many things that you can be doing, and ideas they're never something that you have to like sit around and wait for an idea to hit you. Like if you're in the online world, you're like, oh, I could do this. And so really remembering what the most important thing is, I've found is something that really keeps you on track so that you remember, okay, I accomplished that goal. So I was visible on Pinterest and I built some relationships and I provided value. So I can turn off that timer now and go on to the next thing because I accomplished that. And now the next thing is the most important thing.
Gotcha. What I noticed a little bit, as you said those about last 5 sentences, you were on fire. Like you were very passionate about what you were doing. So that right there is probably because you've, not only like you've probably suffered through it. For me personally, like I've had to create my own systems, what works for me. You can listen to everybody, but if what doesn't work for you doesn't work for you, then why are you going to do it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also something where you have to figure out where your strengths are. And one of the things I keep hearing online is that you kind of have to be everywhere all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not believe that. I think that you need to be where you shine all the time. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be on video if you hate video. That doesn't mean you're going to be writing 50 million blog posts if you hate writing. Or if you're, most women don't get Twitter at all. If you hate Twitter, you're not going to be able to find very much traction there. So I'm a big believer in finding what works. And what works for me is that personal engagement. So when I feel like I have provided value to somebody, that makes my day. That's what it's all about for me.
Okay. That's really, I love that because I was listening to a podcast episode the other day by Dale Partridge. He has Startup Camp I'm not sure if okay, you've heard of him, but he was interviewing. I listened to like 40 episodes that day, but someone was saying like the less you do, the more you accomplish. Because if you just focused on your strong suits, if you just honed in on your key features, then that is what will help you explode. But then again, you're going to allow yourself to create the business that you want because other people will be involved as well. It's not a business if you have to be there 24/7.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that people begin businesses and start businesses for themselves to produce more freedom and more flexibility and to do what they're passionate about. Not so that they have to work 90 hours a week. They're just doing it for themselves. So I'm really big on systems and getting a team in place as soon as you can afford it so that you can build the life that you are actually dreaming about and not another job for yourself.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree. 110%. So for what you're saying now, obviously we've probably got, a lot of different levels of listeners listening right now, but how, in your case, for what you've done, first off, did you go to college for what you did?
I have an MBA in marketing. So yes, I did.
MBA in marketing. Okay. That's really good to know. A lot of people, they don't go to college. They just start from ground zero and start that entrepreneurial journey. But I've heard a lot of people, they are intrapreneurs. So like they're entrepreneurs on the inside and they basically learn everything. Like one of my people that I follow also too is Rick Mulready. He is the Facebook ads king in my opinion, but he worked for Will Ferrell in his, the humor, the company that Will Ferrell had, but also that like AOL. He learned everything on the inside, so it didn't cost him a dime. And then after that, he branched out, did that. So, Kristi, how would you recommend a complete beginner that wants to, take this direction, take this path? How would you advise them to do so?
Sure. I mean, I really think with the clients that I've worked with on building their business, one of the things that we usually do to get started, especially if you don't know what that business is going to be, which seems to be where a lot of people start, is I want to do something, but I'm not really sure what it is. Is to really, and this is one of the things I did, was to sit down and write out all of your experience and knowledge. And I say that because people who are interested in starting businesses online have done what you just talked about, which is you listen to all the podcasts and you buy all the courses and you open all of the emails and you're out there all the time and you discount that when you go to start your own business. You forget that the rest of the world is not doing that. The rest of the world has not invested that kind of time and energy. They're not passionate like you are. So you have a lot to offer that a lot of times we discount because we think everybody does it. And that's totally not true. So that's one of the first things I do is I actually sat down and wrote out everything that I could bring to the table. I do have an MBA in marketing, but I graduated in 2002, so none of it's relevant today.
Yeah, that's like a whole nother episode right there.
So a lot of the stuff that I learned because I built relationships and kind of learned as it happened. So after you kind of figure out what it is that you can offer, the next thing I tell people is, okay, what are you the most passionate about? And it doesn't have to be something in business. So a lot of times people are most passionate about parenting or relationships, right? Sometimes people are passionate about playing the guitar, or my parents have a ministry, and my dad's really passionate about ministering to pastors. So it's different for everybody. But what I like to see happen is once you have that experience list of all of this value that you have, and then you know what you're passionate about, seeing what fits together. Because that will mean that you're building a business that you're actually proud of and passionate about, and not one that you're forcing, which is what I see a lot is, I'm going to build a course about social media because those sell. Well, if that's not something you're passionate about and you don't really know who you're going to help in that process, you're going to burn out really quickly. So those are the two things I usually get people to do first so that their foundation is set. And then you can figure out how to reach that market, whether you want to do ebooks or videos or whatever.
Cool. I love that. I know, like, I love the part when you said that find what you're passionate about, because my dear wife, she, I was first going, when I was going to school, I was first going into, mechanical engineering. I thought it'd be so cool, to invent the next Apple iWatch or whatever. And I soon found out that, like, yeah, it was good, but my wife all of a sudden brought it up one day, and she was like, why are you talking about mechanical engineering? You never talk about that. All you talk about is people and business. And that struck me so hard. And I was like, that was my turning point from going into mechanical engineering. So I really started digging down, really finding myself. And funny thing is, she actually, same thing happened to her. she loves, like, we just have so much fun together. And she was almost trying to go into business just to, like, please me. But yeah, right. After a while though, I started noticing she was getting burnt out, and I told her, like, she was going into graphic design, so then she can help me with, like, the graphics and stuff. And I'm like, why are you going into graphic design? All you talk about are children and health, because of her health history. So she is now going into yoga, and she is so pumped for that. She is so excited, and I just can't wait. And, probably open up a few more, online courses for this and have her teach people, and I'll be on the back end or whatever. But 2 points, to summarize all that down: make sure you do what you love and love what you do. And, even if that means you got to find, even if that means you got to find, like, some kind of job that pays the bills and gets you through what you got to do, but also, do what you love. So, do you have anything to add to that, Kristi?
No, I just think that's super important, and it's a part of the puzzle that a lot of people miss. So I think that's really the starting point before you figure out what business you want to build.
Okay. So we've got that. What kind of mindset? I mean, obviously, like, this could get pretty hard. We know now, like, the beginning steps, but what would someone do when, like, the obstacles come, and how would they, defeat all those blazing dragons that come around?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. One of the things is to really have a personal support system that you can bounce things off of. My business partner is my boyfriend, and I can walk out of my office and totally vent, and then him listen and help me refocus. And I don't, if you have parents or a best friend or a sister or wife, whatever it might be, but I think that's super important, because when you're building a business, especially when you're building a business from home, when you're not working full time and you're not around other people, start to feel really isolated really quickly. So I do think having somebody or a couple somebodies to be able to bounce stuff off of is really important to kind of get out of that funk. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I have done that is something I learned from Denise Duffield Thomas, she talks about money mindset and stuff like that a lot, is I actually track every dollar that comes in, no matter what it's for. And so if I find 25 cents on the ground, I write it down. I actually have a little planner and I write it down.
Okay.
If a client buys a product, I write it down. If I get $50 for my birthday, I write it down. It really does something to your mindset when you see how blessed you really are, and where money really is coming from. And I thought for the longest time that was the dumbest idea. I was like, you people are crazy. But when I was really struggling with trying to make sure that I wasn't assuming that I had to be at a Disney level income to make ends meet, which was never true, but that was kind of where my block was coming in, that I was counting the blood really got me, or that, like, yeah, I was missing something, and you're going to have a lot of setbacks. When you're building something on technology, just know that that's going to happen. And if you can tell yourself, look, it doesn't happen without bumps, it just doesn't. Like, every webinar I've ever done, I've started out by saying it's technology. At some point, the screen's going to get fuzzy, your phone's not going to work, or the slide going to move, something's going to happen. And if you go knowing that everything's not going to be perfect, and you don't expect it to, and you don't expect to be perfect at it, it helps you a lot in really being able to move on faster, and also not internalizing it as if the universe is out to get you if a page doesn't load correctly, which sounds silly, but we will all do it. I promise.
Yeah, I keep going. Sorry. I love that.
Well, I actually had a client pop up on Facebook today and basically said that. And I was like, that's something I think all entrepreneurs go through that. They feel like they're jinxed somehow if everything doesn't work perfectly. So and that's another thing. And the other thing is really immerse yourself in people who have been successful, and listen to their stories. And by that, I mean, for example, I love John Lee Dumas, but if you listen to his story, he was broke and working his butt off. He didn't just burst on the scene, a millionaire overnight. Same thing. You listen to like Pat Flynn and some of these guys. A lot of times people forget the rest of their story. They see where they are now and they kind of ignore the 10 years it took them to get to where they are now. And so I don't say to immerse yourself in successful people so that you can compare yourself to where they are now, but to really listen to their story and where they came from, because most of them really can relate to where you are if you take a breath and listen instead of doing that comparison thing that we all do.
Yeah. Awesome, Kristi. I loved that so much. Thank you for sharing. What I want to do right now is actually go into one of your, because this is called Pre-Launch Profit, but in my philosophy is you can do anything if you have the right people to back you up and if you have the right following. Like you can, if you think about like Star Wars, they have 30 years of loyal, hardcore Star Wars fans. And I'm like, yeah, their latest movie just grossed, don't quote me on this and don't like report me to the people or whatever. Anyway, so $2 billion they grossed in like a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that is just from a movie, but like people are doing this with gadgets. People are doing it with ebooks. They're not, $2 billion launches. They're not doing with ebooks, but they are doing something, something so extreme to that matter where they are helping and serving this entire world with something. So what I want to do now is hone in and key on one of your launches. We're going to go start to finish, how you got your first clients, what you did to get your first clients, what were the steps and tools that you used, and we will go from there. So what is your launch lifestyle product that you would like to talk about?
Well, the one that I mentioned earlier was just a beginner's Facebook ads course. And we can definitely zero in on that one.
Okay. So I remember you talking about you actually you were finding your clients somehow with freelancing or with like side gigs while you were at Disney. How did you find those people?
A lot of those I actually found on freelancing sites. So Elance, which is now Upwork, was one of them, and actually going out in local Craigslist ads and finding people who were interested in what I could provide, and sending them personalized emails, not a resume, but a personalized, like, this is how I can solve what you're looking for. And I actually landed my first 11 clients through those two channels.
Okay, okay, cool. So definitely the freelancing platforms and Craigslist. I've done a little bit of both of that. Just for your guys' information, Odesk and Elance have now combined, and they are now called Upwork. So if you have, check out Upwork.com. They are the two, and I've done a lot of stuff there, like ebook editing or writing books or whatever. So check that out. And cool. So you found these people. What was your transition stage? How did you go from corporate setting to lifestyle setting to where you're at now?
Well, one of the things that is a little bit different in my story than where most people are is that when I negotiated my contract with Disney, they let me work 80% remotely. So I was actually able to build a little bit of the business on the side. Disney kept me very busy, so it wasn't like I wasn't working by any means, but okay. I had a lot of the flexibility to do things kind of on my own hours. So that helped a little bit. And I've actually helped a couple of clients that are trying to build a lifestyle business negotiate very similar terms. You'd be surprised how many businesses are open to that now. And sometimes there's just a little bit of give and take, but that was what happened with my story. So I began to, what I told myself was once I had 10 clients or 10 buyers, that actually I would go ahead and turn in my notice. I was on contract, so it's a little bit different, but that I would not renew my contract when it came up.
Gotcha.
And I made that promise to myself and the universe. And on May 5th, my contract ended on May 7th. And on May 5th, I closed 2 clients, which put me on 11 clients. So I had to make the decision to, yes.
The crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
That is so
So
cool. So
it,
how did you find, again, were these clients just from like the Odesk and Elance type stuff?
so actually what happened was I got 3 clients from Upwork that I was working with on digital marketing strategies and those kinds of things. And they remained clients, and then they referred me. All of them referred me to somebody that I actually ended up closing. So that put me at 6.
Gotcha.
And then actually one of the clients at Disney where I was working wanted some consulting help, and I was able to close one of them. And then the last ones I got off of, 2 of them are from a networking group, and the rest of them was from Craigslist locally.
Okay, cool. Cool. So basically you just hustled and you found all these people, but I loved how you actually set yourself parameters to actually follow, corporate is not everything like that dream job. It's not everything that we make it out to be. We spend 12, education is by far one of my most favorite topics to talk about, but I really do feel like there is a better way to learn something. Instead of, like taking electives and stuff, but that's a different story. We can, dive into that later, but corporate is not all it's made out to be. Living the life that you want, because we've only got 100 years here on this earth to live. Why not make it the best you can? So with your Facebook launch, what did you do after that? Or, just continue.
Sure. Yeah. So like I mentioned, after I quit, I started to build the Facebook ads course. And I did a lot of kind of market research in my own way, which was figuring out what questions people were asking and then spending a lot of money on everybody else's products.
Right.
And what I've kind of built my business on is filling in the gaps. So the
Okay.
reason why I say that about buying everybody else's products is because I didn't want to come to market with exactly the same thing. I wanted to make sure that there was something different about what I was offering. And so it helped me feel a little bit more confident in my own value. I don't think everybody has to do that,
Mm,
but for me, it gave me that little push where I can start with somebody that doesn't have a Facebook page at all and get them up and running with Facebook ads by the end of my course. So I wasn't assuming where somebody was, and that seemed to be kind of where everybody was getting lost. Whereas like, I don't even know how to build a business page at all. And I'm getting lost on these Facebook ads courses that are telling me terms that I've never heard of.
right.
So that's kind of how I started. And then once the product was built, I kind of did, I did a launch plan, and kind of tested it out. I actually was able to build relationships with a couple of people that have been in the market for a little while and pick their brain. We actually kind of did a back and forth where I helped them with their ads and they helped me with the launch.
Okay.
But we because I wanted to make sure that it was beyond just running Facebook ads to sell a Facebook ads course. I actually one of the things that's offered in my course is a one-on-one consultation with me. And it was really important to me that I was going to walk away from my product, and everybody's different. But for me, I wanted to make sure that if somebody felt like they got stuck, they had access to me. And so I didn't want it to be just cold sells off of Facebook ads. So I built it a little bit differently. And because of that, I launched it a little bit differently.
Gotcha.
And so I actually did a series of webinars on identifying your ideal client and why that matters, and how do you actually go out and find them once you know who they are, and how you can run Facebook ads that target them. So I did a series of webinars, and I did a lot of promotion, a lot on LinkedIn actually. Of promotion inside LinkedIn groups, because those are the people who understand LinkedIn and think that Facebook is either not for them or just scary. That we're all, a bunch of college kids that don't have money and that kind of thing, which is not true.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of that, actually answering questions and showing them the value of actually being able to do some Facebook ads that way. And then the people who I had seen ask questions in groups, what I did when I was going through that market research phase, which I didn't mention, is I actually kept a list. of people, so that when I launched my course, I went back and sent them messages and said, hey, I don't know if you ever got this question answered or not, but I've built this course designed specifically to answer that question. As a matter of fact, you were part of my research when I was building this product. I would love for you to check it out. Because you were part of that, I'll give you a 10% discount code if you'll provide your feedback once you go through the course. And I actually sent out about 100 messages. Wow. Very personalized, from people that I had collected information from that had no idea that I was doing that. But that was kind of part of the launch as well. And the biggest part was using the webinar to build a bigger email list of people that I knew were interested in what I was about to launch. And by choosing the topics that I chose, I knew that the people that were signing up were going to be people that were going to be interested in the Facebook ads course. So I did Facebook ads for your ideal client. So it was targeted, so you're not just casting a really wide net. And so I did webinars to really target the people who were going to be interested in that, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. No, totally. Gotcha. Okay. So in a nutshell, I loved that. Not just because it's something that I'm supposed to say on the podcast, because I wouldn't say it otherwise. I really would, because I do like it. Anyway, I liked how you're just a hustler, and that shows from the work that you did, because you were going through Facebook groups, finding people, and I loved how you would message people, because it wasn't like a, hey, I have this course, buy it, but it was a very genuine, sincere, like, hey, you actually helped me in many ways that you have no idea about until now. I would like to help return the favor with this special, offer, discount, coupon, whatever it is. So did you have, so it looks like from what we're talking about, I love, themes. I love seeing what kind of trends are happening. It looks like you first started with clients, not only clients, but people. Then you started asking them questions, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Then you went from there, and you didn't create the product first. You were creating it, but you were still fine-tuning it with, the market research. So then after all that, what did you do to continue?
So my goal was I wanted to have between 2,000 and 2,500 people on my list, because I figured in my mind that was a big enough list to launch to. I'm not really sure that's true anymore, but that's where I was at the time. Okay. No Facebook group, and most of my social media following was me. So it wasn't like it was the company or brand yet. So my email list was the only thing that really represented me at the time. Gotcha. So I did the 3 webinars. So I did a series of 3 webinars, and I did a lot of, like I said, promotion inside of Facebook groups. I also did Facebook ads and a lot of Twitter promotion and LinkedIn groups. Between the 3 webinars, I got, I was 1998 was how many people actually ended up on my email list as a result.
Good job.
Which is really good results. It's something I have not experienced since the launch off of 3 webinars, I should say. But I did have, I had 70 people on the first one, which I thought was awesome. And I had between 50 and 60 on the next 2, okay. which is a decent turnout for a live webinar. I had quite a few people watch the replay. But live, that was the turnout. And what I did on the webinar was my webinars are usually like 90 minutes long, because I've learned that I'm always going to give value before I sell anything. And so I've just given up trying to keep them shorter.
Right.
So my webinars, it was about 55 minutes of just straight ideas on how to identify your ideal target, how to find them, and then how to target them. And that was kind of my sequencing. And I did between 55 minutes and an hour of just value, one step after another. And then I would say, then I would basically launch into a couple of the questions that I was hearing, which is, are Facebook ads really worth it? Can I target my ideal client and be able to make a return on my investment? Those are the kind of questions. So I had a slide that would have 2 or 3 of the questions that I had seen the most often that week. So I would change that slide in the presentation for each of the webinars, kind of based on what the trends were for the week. and then I would offer the course, and that's kind of how I took it to market. Um, I got initially I sold. I looked this up the other day when we first started talking, and I forgot. And I think initially, out of the 3 webinars, we sold a little under 100 of courses. Then what I did was everybody that bought, I went back and basically offered them an affiliate commission if they referred people, if they found value in it. I got feedback from them first, and the people who really enjoy it, which I didn't get any bad feedback, which I just don't know if people were scared of me or what.
There you go.
But the people who really seemed like, this is exactly what I was looking for. I didn't have an affiliate program set up. I just said, hey, if you will connect me to people that you think would be interested in this, if they buy, then I'll give you a referral fee. I just did 15% of the cost, and then I got another about 55 referrals out of that in that launch week.
Nice. Obviously, share what you will. Obviously, none of this has been talked about before in the pre-chat, but can you share? So you sold about 100 or so plus the 55. What was the pricing of your course?
It was $197.
197. Okay, cool. So 197, and so that's pretty cool. And a lot of people, especially when they get to this point, it's like, wait, that's so not true. Like, that can't happen. There's no way someone could make, $30K in a month. I'm struggling doing that in an entire year. But it's because things are changing so fast. Things are happening so fast where you literally can launch your life into something you love and just have so much fun with that. But also you are helping so many more people with what they want to do as well, because everyone has something that makes them tick, is what I say. And so obviously, cool. You launched, you have this course, you're up, sold, obviously. Give or take, what was the rough numbers that you ended with after the launch?
So in total profit, we were right under 16K for
16K.
the launch. But I will say one of the things that you just mentioned is that people look at that and say that was a launch and that you made that much money in a week. And I know that a lot of the gurus that are out there that are in front of everybody say that as well. Like I had an $80,000 launch. The problem is that there was months of work that went into that previously that you weren't getting paid. Oh, yeah. So it wasn't a 30 days to make $80,000 or whatever, the way that people position it. Mm-hmm. I know that the hype sells, and I get that. But just to kind of, because I deal with a lot of clients now who get super discouraged. So I always like to mention that there's a lot of front end and back end work that kind of makes that a much more digestible number. It was good, so I don't want to, and it was better than what I had anticipated. So, right. But I always like to throw that out because I think people, like you said, nobody's an overnight success, and I think people forget that when they start hearing numbers about launches and stuff, that there was a lot of things that went into the front and the back, and you can totally remake your life in a 30-day launch or in a 2-week launch. But just know that there is work that goes into it that's outside of that 2 weeks that people don't think about.
Kristi, this is why we are talking right now, and this is why the world needs more of you, because you're real, you're legit, you're not sugarcoating anything, and I just want to say I do not like sugarcoaters. I do not beat around the bush. I love being blunt and saying things how they are. So thank you for that very much, and that is it. That is the fact where, there is a lot of leg work that goes beforehand, but that's how it is for everything. Like, you need to learn to walk before you can run. You need to go to high school track before you can become the next Usain Bolt. You know what I mean? Like that's really how it is. And that is just so cool. And still, like, props to you, because, that 16K launch could turn into like a 30K launch, could turn into 100K if you just keep doing what you're doing. So I also love how you're helping people, learn, that type of mindset too. So what is it that you're doing post-launch now? Like, how are you, like, what are a couple things that you're doing to, like, keep people engaged, to not lose people, to, like that?
Sure. Well, there's a couple things. One is, I think getting that feedback is super important. I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed with some of the like Facebook authors and stuff, like Facebook ebook authors, Facebook on the brain, uh, is really that the level of interaction that they provide, whether it's videos and you can leave a comment underneath, or they actually give you their email address, or they're actually on their business Facebook page, whatever it is. I think that there is a lot to be said for that relationship marketing when people feel like their feedback matters. So I've tried to really incorporate that into the other products that I've built, and some of the coaching clients that I've worked with as well. And so what I saw happen, which is kind of interesting, is a lot of the people that saw a little bit of success with the Facebook ads already had something they were advertising, right? So they already had a product or business of some sort,
Right.
And weren't sure what to do next. So they saw a little bit of success after kind of implementing the Facebook ads. And because I was accessible, they were like, hey, what do I do now? And so I was actually able to get several of them to sign on another element of my business, which is coaching business owners to the next level of their business with digital marketing, from that product launch. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is I set up sales funnels,
Okay.
which I love. And it's one of the things that I don't think enough entrepreneurs do. So the way that mine are set up is that I offer something free on the front end that is value packed. I heard somebody on a webinar the other day say to give away your meaningless information in an opt-in, and that's the worst advice I've ever heard in my life.
You don't do that. That's a turnoff right there for sure.
Yeah, well, it's the first impression. So I don't know the level of the people that will be listening, but an opt-in is something that you're giving away of value in exchange for somebody's email address. So it'd be the first page that somebody lands on, basically says, hey, would you like a report on how to create a business growth strategy in the next 5 days, right? So people are like, yeah, I would love that. And so they give you their email address. Now they're on your email list. What I did is, instead of ending there, I took them to a thank you page for just a second, and then I rotated into a paid product. And how I did that was I broke out my bigger product that was $197, and you can get $7 for the templates on how to plan your Facebook ads.
Okay.
And then if they bought that, it went into a little bit higher of a product. And so it kind of directed based on what their response was. And what that has done for me is that I'm running Facebook ads and now Pinterest ads, which are amazing, and to a sales funnel that's paying for itself. Because if 1 in 10 people purchase my $7 product, then the ad that got the other 9 people onto my email list hasn't cost anything out of pocket.
Nice.
So that's kind of how I've continued to grow. And then I still sell about 3 of the the beginner Facebook ads course, the one that we've been talking about, a week. So I still do about $600 a week just in passive sales through those sales funnels.
Okay. Cool. So obviously a lot of streamlined stuff. We're seeing a lot of, follow-ups for sure. You can't just say, well, cool, they're on my list. Now what? You still got to engage. You got to feed. You got to nurture all of these people. Because one thing, this is my pet peeve about email marketing. One of them is, all of the people, they all call them oh, it's your email list. Oh, it's, but it's not an email list. This is a literal human being that is sitting there reading your message on the other side of the screen. And if we can just tap into that, they are not any part of an email list. They are literally your friends. You are helping them. And this is just a means where you get to streamline it so that you can have more of a mass effect. And I hope you resonate with that, because I don't like it when people say, oh yeah, my email list is so big, but it's hey, cool, but what are you doing for them?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that I teach people that really helped me, and I honestly don't remember where I pulled it from, to be frank about it, but when you set up your ideal client, I tell people, write down personality traits of what resonates with you, who you're trying to target with what you're building, and then give them a name. And I say that because when I sit down to write an email to the people that are on my list, I have that person in mind. So my ideal client's name is Sam, because I work with men and women, and that works for both.
Okay.
and they're trying to build a business and they're not really sure what their next steps are. They're super passionate. They have ideas all the time, but those ideas send them in circles. And so they're really smart and they'll do whatever it takes, but they're just not sure what it takes yet. That's kind of who my niche is. And so when I write emails with Sam in mind, I understand where they're coming from and I write as if I'm talking to that client named Sam and giving them information. So it's not, I never use phrases like, I want to thank everybody on my list or, hey, all of you. Like I write it like I'm writing it to Sam. And it really changes the dynamic because a lot of times in my emails will put, hey, if you have a question about what we just talked about, hit reply and let me know. And I get a ton of people that will respond. And I have found with other people that I've worked with, the biggest difference is that personal touch is that I'm not writing to the masses. I'm writing to that one person. And it makes a big difference.
Right. That's so good. I love that. I love it. Just there's a new wave of just geniuses that are coming out of the woodworks, honestly. Again, Kristi, thank you for this time, for everything that we've discussed. And I think if I'm not wrong, did you have something for our audience before we actually leave?
Yeah, so I actually have developed a one-page plan to help people go from idea to planning how that idea will work in the marketplace. So it's kind of like a one-page business plan, but it's not really, because if you've ever seen a business plan, they're really long and complicated. But this basically breaks down the steps of what exactly you would need to do to go from I would like to solve this problem and who will buy it and how you want to take it to market. So it's just a little worksheet that will walk you through those processes. And it sounds really simple, but if you're still kind of bouncing around ideas, it really helps you zero in on what it is you want to do. And so that's the giveaway that I have for the people that are listening.
Cool. Good. That would the thing about this podcast is we are very actionable. But not only that, like I want to make sure that we are not only listening in the cars and while we're at work and while we're driving, but like we're actually turning off the podcast, going to wherever it is and actually typing in the stuff that these people give. Sorry, not these people, but like these guests that come in that are helping you guys. Like, come on, they are giving you stuff. Let's just make sure that we are acting every single day and taking those proper steps. So also, before I do forget, just to encompass everyone, what were two, like, do you have any like book recommendations or like any resources or launch tools that you use that just made, that was a lifesaver for you?
Sure. I could answer all of those questions.
There you go.
For launch tools, I really like, I've used both of these. I really like Lead Pages and ClickFunnels.
Okay.
It just makes the whole process much easier and smoother for people if you're not super tech savvy. I've kind of used a combination for email service providers between Aweber and ActiveCampaign. They both kind of have their own pros, I guess, to them, but they were both very helpful. Aweber has amazing customer service, and ActiveCampaign has really good like training videos, so you can figure out how to tag people correctly as they come onto your list and stuff like that. The other thing that I found super useful was an automated scheduler, so that when people wanted to talk to you about your products and stuff like that, you had a link that you could send them. It just cut down on time. Like, I'm available Tuesday, well, I'm not available Tuesday. Like, that drove me crazy.
Oh, I bet.
So I use Schedule Once. I think you use Acuity, don't you?
Yep, Acuity scheduling. That's the one I use. It is a time saver, my friend. It is so good.
Yeah, I love that. The automated scheduler was huge. Even if you're just scheduling people that might be like partners or affiliates or whatever, it just cuts down on all the back and forth. So those are probably the best tools that I've used as far as that. I really like, as far as books, I'm an avid reader, so that's you can kind of see the books behind me.
That's good. I love them.
Probably my favorite one that I've read this year is Essentialism.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
It's all about doing what's essential and not allowing the peripherals to cloud what the essentials are. So
yes.
deciding what I call them MITs, most important things are, and sticking to them. And so if that's getting to the gym, one day, then that needs to be what gets crossed off before anything else happens. So I love essentialism it really changed my way of thinking. The other one that's really good for entrepreneurs, and this is going to sound very woo-woo, so I apologize, but it's called tapping into wealth. And it's about, it uses the acupressure pressure points.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it helps you work through money blocks. So a lot of your foundational feelings about money came from your parents or your upbringing that you have no idea that are what's lingering. And she actually walks you. So it's a book and a video. So if you have a Kindle, I recommend doing it on a Kindle because you can watch the videos right on the Kindle. But it really opened my eyes to some things where I was blocking myself from major success with self-sabotage for different things. I've now been in a group with about 200 other ladies who are entrepreneurs who cannot stop talking about this book. So it is a little bit woo-woo type stuff, but it really worked for me. And if you understand how acupuncture works, it's very, very similar. So it's not like crazy and out there. It makes a lot of sense.
Kristi, I do not at all think that is woo-woo. Again, we talked about this in the beginning. Whatever works for you, that's what you got to hone in on. And again, major props to you, especially with my wife. Like, a lot of people, yoga, but like, so what? Like, do what works for you.
Yeah.
So again, Kristi, thank you so much. Again, this is Kristi Brown. We've been talking to her, not only talking, but learning so many good things from Kristi today. And where can people find you, and, where are you located?
Sure. Well, my website is significantlysuccessful.com. And actually the contact page on there will give you my email address if you want to get directly in touch with me.
Okay.
You can go there. And then if you just search for Kristi Brown, which is with a K, most of the time my social media platforms will pop up first because I've been around for a little while. And you should be able to find me on Facebook with Kristi Brown, and also on Twitter with Kristi Brown. You can connect with me there as well.
Cool. Yep, we will put all this lovely information inside the show notes. Just right below the video, we'll put some extra goodies there, and also don't forget to check out her freebie, her gift, significantlysuccessful.com/simple-plan. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. So again, Kristi, thank you so much for everything that you've done today, and we will catch you later.
Thanks, Tucker.
Thanks. Boom. Isn't that cool? Gosh, I love these episodes, guys. I love talking to these kinds of people because they are go-getters. I love just spending time with all of these, like-minded people and actually seeing them create the lifestyle and life that they want to do, but also they're basically inserting freedom into their lives by doing all of these things that they love. So thank you guys for checking this out. And if you guys have any questions or comments, just go ahead and find me on Facebook, add me as a friend, send me a quick message. I love chatting with you guys and actually helping you out. And if you guys are interested, just go ahead and go to prelaunchprofit.com/free. And there's all of the trainings, my newsletters there. So go ahead and go there, and I will see you guys later. Thanks.